Hello everybody, I'm Jonathan Ross from Ross Search Consulting, and I'm delighted today to be joined by Charles Paumelle, who is an Internet of Things expert. So Charles, from the practical side of actually implementing the Internet of Things, perhaps you can give us some examples, some physical examples of the sensors that you would use, and then also talk about the connectivity side of things on the Internet, and also the big thing, of course, the actual production of vast amounts of data and how you actually analyze that data. So, from what you said, those are the key three components of the Internet of Things.
That's correct. So if we start with the sensors, really the limit is your imagination. If there is something that you want to measure or that you want to detect, there's going to be a solution out there. And there's really two paths for that. Either you go to the market and you look around and you'll find a lot of ready-made products that already have both the capability to sense and also to send that information over the internet. So a few examples here. So this is a classic for measuring the environment quality. So this will have humidity and temperature and CO2 level and what's called volatile organic compounds, which is a measure of harmful gases that may be present in the atmosphere.
So this is perfect for facilities management, for buildings management. So from a commercial buildings perspective, it's huge.
Correct.
But also can be used in the household as well.
That's correct.
Right.
And that will make sure that you have the right level of air in the place, that you're not overheating or overcooling and wasting energy doing so. And so something like this is ready-made. It has a battery life probably about 4 years, so you can just stick it in and get going.
And how much are these? What's the actual?
So the price is going down very, very rapidly. Something like this would probably have cost you about £100 a year ago. We're now seeing those available on the market around the sort of £25 mark, and I'm expecting that within a year they'll be around the sort of 10-15.
Really, yeah. So therefore, that is one of the things that's going to generate the explosion in the use of the Internet of Things. All of a sudden, is now very affordable.
Correct.
Yeah.
The alternative, of course, if you can't find the product that is the sensor that you're looking for, is to go on the route of making your own. And again, there's been a lot of effort and a lot of capabilities now to get that done very quickly.
Yeah.
So something like this, which is basically a little electronics board which has a microcontroller that you can program. It has already the battery and the connectivity to the internet via a radio signal, and you just plug in whatever sensors you want to use, and so that gets you to prototype something very quickly, very cost effectively, and check it's working, check it's delivering information you're looking for before you then go and manufacture it at volume and at scale. Ah,
right, okay, yeah. So that's going to be very efficient use of the development process.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's leveraging a lot of open source and open standards that are available, so that you can find people with those skills. This, for instance, is based on something called Arduino, which is a very well-known open standard for electronics. Yeah. So there's a lot of compatible things that I can plug right into this little board that automatically give me something that's useful.
Right, okay. So therefore you've got the sensors, and then it's all about connectivity. So it's enabling these devices to talk to other devices and to give information via the internet.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there again, there are lots of different options available, lots of standards that people can use, and that very much going to depend on the use and how that sensor, for instance, is going to be moving. So, for instance, your car, which is driving everywhere across the UK and potentially, going into Europe, you want something that just uses an infrastructure that's already there. So, typically, something like a cellular connection, the same as your mobile phone, using the national carriers is going to be perfect, because that allows you to have connectivity straight away when you're starting. When you're trying to connect something like an air quality in a building, this is not something that's going to be moving, and it's going to emit such a small amount of data that it's probably overkill to put a SIM card into that, and it would just be too expensive, both from a cost but also from a battery consumption point of view. So there are a number of emerging standards, such as LoRa, such as Sigfox, that basically give you that connectivity at a much lower price point and a much bigger range. So typically you're going to install a gateway, something that looks like a Wi-Fi router, that will connect an entire building, maybe an entire business park, and in some cases an entire town with just one single antenna.
An entire town with one single antenna? Wow,
Absolutely.
yeah. So again, massively cost efficient.
Correct.
Right, yeah, okay. So the other point is that you mentioned the third and the most key part of all of this is the data, because there's going to be a massive amount of data,
Yes.
and what on earth do you do with all that data? So therefore the data analytics side of things has got to be very, very important. Yeah,
That's correct.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of facets to that question. Analytics, of course, is the first. The reason why we're spending all that effort and money getting those sensors and those networks in place is to get information. And information is obviously going to come at first. You kind of say, okay, I want to track where my assets are, or I want to see how my building is operating. But at some stage I want to be able to share that information with other third parties.
Yes.
And that's where all sorts of complications are going to come in, such as compliance, such as privacy, such as confidentiality that we need to think about. So being able to handle that amount of data, massively bigger volumes of data that we've ever experienced, at the same time lots of opportunities to share it and do that all in real time is really where the complexity lies, and something that the industry is still just coming to bear with.
Right, absolutely, yeah. So would you say that the industry is very much in its infancy at the moment? It's at an early stage?
Well, interesting enough, the Internet of Things has actually been around for a long time. We've, certain assets, things like elevators, for instance, have been connected for a very long time. So I'd say we're actually now in a kind of mass popularization of the technologies, both from a consumer and from a business standpoint. And so we are seeing some emergence of real standards that make it really easy for people to make investment decisions based on something that's going to be around for the next 5-10 years, and with enough security and compliance that they're not going to bet their job on something that's not going to work in the long term.
Right, yes, absolutely, yeah. And in terms of compliance, it was mentioned earlier on the presentation today about new data regulations coming in the UK, and perhaps you could talk a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So the Global Directive on Privacy Regulation, or GDPR, which is a European regulation coming into play in May 2018,
right.
Is one of many data privacy laws that is changing the landscape from a data management point of view. And the reality is most organizations have barely started. We're about 7 months away at this stage, and many organizations really don't know how they're going to handle this need to really protect the individual's data,
right.
and give them access when they want. So again, this is a whole set of additional complexity that as we're creating more and more data, we've got to make sure that we do that in a responsible and legal, compliant way.
Right, yeah. And so your business is all about actually helping organizations to not only go through the process of actually installing sensors, getting all connected, and then doing all the analytics, but also helping with all of the organizational stuff and the compliance and
that's correct. And that is really the core of what we do. In a lot of ways, the sensor network is going to be the privy of other organizations that we work with and that we partner with.
Yeah.
But yeah, the core of what we do on day in, day out is making sure that that data is usable, is shareable with multiple parties who want to actually use it or buy it.
Yeah.
At the same time being legally responsible, not losing the information, not losing the confidentiality.
Right, yes, absolutely. Yeah.